Hey everyone, and I'm back. Between Glass, a talking dog movie, and replicas, I got a lot to catch up on while I was gone. So, welcome to Midnight Screenings. I'm Brad Jones. You can find you at, do you go to give away your Twitter account on here?
Never. No. Brad Jones, the Cinema Snob. I'm Ryan Mitchley, a director, editor. Worked in Hollywood for over 10 years. You can find me at WalkAwayENT, at WalkAwayENT on Twitter. And of course, you can follow us here. We see about every movie that comes out. So if you like what you see here, a lot of times we do it live as well. So if you subscribe, hit the bell notification button. You'll be one of the lucky folks that gets to be with us live.
You'll get alerted when it goes live, and you'll get alerted when it goes into the archives too, which is usually only about a half hour after it goes live. Follow us on Twitter as well at the Cinema Snob. You can follow us on Instagram at the Cinema Snob and Facebook.com/the Cinema Snob. So yeah, I do have a lot to catch up on while I was gone.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a few that I don't even know if I got so much to do. There's a few where I'm like, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to catch up on it. Like, On the Basis of Sex is playing.
That's right, yeah.
Beale Street and The Upside. I'm going to try, but, I mean, if I don't, one movie's about sex, another's about race, so that'll give some relief to the moderators in the comments. You're welcome, guys.
Always thinking.
No, I am going to try to see at least. I do really want to see Beale Street. At some point, I'm going to try to get around to going to see that. But finally got around to going to see Glass.
Yeah.
A movie that I've been waiting for longer than Split, which was just a couple of years ago. This is like what I've been waiting to see since Unbreakable.
Absolutely.
My favorite Shyamalan movie.
Yeah, Unbreakable was great. I really liked that movie back in the day.
It still holds up because after Split came out, Laura and I went to go see Split. I really loved Split too. I would put that in my up there with my favorite ones of his. And Laura hadn't seen Unbreakable before, and when it got to the end of Split, she's like, what? I'm like, oh, you haven't seen, okay. Went back and watched Unbreakable, which I hadn't seen in a while, and still holds up. Still really, really fucking love that movie. And so when I got, you didn't miss one funny thing when I got here. There was a big line that, how do I explain this? It was a line at the box office, but it wasn't coming from the entrance. It was coming from one of the theaters. And I'm like, I've heard really mixed reviews about this movie we're about to see. Is this a bunch of people asking, is this movie really bad?
They're all asking for their money back.
Are they all asking for their money back? So I went up. There was a line stretching back to like Theater 11, which is far down from the hall. And so I asked the guy, I'm like, is this a bunch of people asking for a refund? He's like, yeah, the stupid projector kept going out in the movie that we were in. I'm like, what movie? He's like, Dragon Ball. There's like a one night only.
Oh no, it's a one night only thing in the projector. That sucks.
For this, honestly though,
that sucks.
For this line of people, like stretched all the way back, all getting their money back for this one night only Dragon Ball thing, they were actually really, really calm about it. Maybe it wasn't very good. I don't know, but like they were kind of like, yeah, whatever, we're getting our money back.
I mean, I'm sure that they're all obviously Dragon Ball fans. I'm sure that they probably have other means of ways to see this movie. They just wanted to see it in the theater. And I totally understand. God, that sucks. Oh my God. One time, these things break all the time, but like on a one night.
Ours was fine. The projector didn't go out, and
ours was fine. Yeah, no, so Glass. Yeah.
So I had been staying away from specifically a lot of reviews for it. I mean, it was impossible not to see headlines over the weekend that all say reviewers are split on Glass. Yeah. And they really, I don't know if they are necessarily split on this movie. I think just a lot of article writers like using that pun.
Exactly. I'm going to be witty about this.
Because I've yet to find anyone who likes this movie. I mean, granted, I've been kind of staying away from Twitter and everything lately, but anytime I see someone talking about this movie.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's wildly negative.
Very much so.
And so I was still trying to stay away, going like, okay, look, I mean, you're not, you're not going to kill my 18-year hype to go see this movie. I'm still really, really looking forward to this film.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, okay, all right, whatever, I got to kind of stay away from that. You hadn't seen Split before.
I have not seen Split. No, Split's one that I missed. I mean, over the past, 2-3 years, when I edited like 22 movies over the past like 3 years. So I've been working nonstop, and I've had hardly any time to go see movies. So there's so many great movies that I missed, and Split's one of them. It's one that I just heard great things about. James McAvoy is amazing, and then seeing him in this, it's like, okay, I have to go back and watch Split.
Yeah,
even though
totally.
I know the twist and I know kind of the end of everything.
Sure,
doesn't matter. He'll be amazing to watch.
No, certainly.
So yeah,
this is a movie that there are messy things about this film, certainly, and believe me, we're going to talk about it. But I liked this movie. I mean, I'm sorry, internet.
Yeah, I was reading. I had the same reaction as you. I've been seeing the same articles saying what Shyamalan totally misses the point when he's thinking about this his latest sequel and all this,
right?
And all these just negative reviews. And I mean, maybe it's just because he's such a polarizing figure from his past.
I mean, he is.
That people love to just hate on the guy.
Well,
but I enjoyed this too.
I did enjoy this movie.
I
did. I can also see why someone wouldn't like it.
Sure,
I could.
Okay,
The movie is messy.
It has messy points.
It does have
very self-indulgent type of things that are just. He's one of those directors that, in my opinion, like he has such style that there's certain things on his style that I really like, but there's also things that he just like so many other directors who are really, really talented, he needs a leash. He needs to be pulled in on certain things. Just because even though it's, what he's doing is brilliant, sometimes it's like, okay, well, your brilliance somehow has to translate to normal people. So this is brilliant, and yes, I think this translates well. This is brilliant, but let's tone it down so that way real people can understand what you're doing.
I think this movie is still... I think he's on a slightly
he's
less of a
versus Lady in the Water. I mean,
well, okay, that's where I'm going with this. Because The Visit and Split, he's got Jason Blum along with him. He's working for Blumhouse. He has a much tighter budget and is on a bit more of a leash in those films. This one, I think that that leash is like still there a little bit, but still
he's getting more of it. I mean, clearly. I mean, from The Visit to I didn't see Split, but it was like he had to come back into the world as a director again, and he was totally under watch. Obviously, Jason Blum was like, "No, you're doing this. I'm going to be right here with you the whole time."
This one, I think that he has between The Visit being really good and Split, which I really loved The Visit too. This movie, I think it's like, okay, you've earned your time in the playground, but we're still watching you a little bit. Because I've seen the full Shyamalan of this movie, and it's not Unbreakable or Split or anything like that. It is Lady in the Water. Because this movie does a lot of similar things that movie did, just not as bad as that movie did, because what I did consistently like about this movie, among the things about it that don't work, what I did consistently still like about this film was I was genuinely entertained from beginning to end. Even when this movie had moments that really weren't working and were making me question the logic of a lot of things, I was still appreciating the balls of some of the stuff that they were doing in this film. And when it does have intense sequences in it that rely on being pretty scary or intimidating with mood and suspense and all that, he still really, really excels at that. He can. You said this when we walked out of the movie, and it's true. And you can definitely see that in this film, where he is the kind of director who will do something stupid one minute, but is so good behind the camera with tone and with mood and everything that it can still kind of come back to being suspenseful like that. And then kind of switch back over into something dumb happening.
Right. It's like, like this was a ballsy move and it paid off. And then this was a ballsy move and it totally didn't pay off. So it's taking risks and it's cool.
It does.
And he's always done that in his career. He's always taken a lot of risks. And I totally applaud him for that.
I do.
I mean, as a director, I think that's really, really cool. But yeah, it's like you when you get that risky, you're not going to be hitting 100% of the time. You're hitting like 50% of the time. It's like, ding, that one hit, whiff, missed, totally missed. Ding, ding, hit, whiff, whiff.
So one thing, I did notice here, like he has gotten better at integrating his sense of humor a little bit more in movies, and I felt that way about The Visit as well, and also Split. This one too, because there are genuinely funny moments in this movie.
Yeah.
That aren't Mark Wahlberg talking to a plastic plant and a guy randomly talking about hot dogs, or Freddie Rodriguez with like one arm that's really, really strong and the other one isn't. Like, when something funny happened in this movie, it did feel very, very genuine.
Absolutely,
and it did bring me back into the movie. His cameo, I thought, was really funny in this.
It was.
Because he plays the same guy he played in Unbreakable.
Yeah.
And I was thinking,
cool,
I was thinking that when he showed up, I was like, well, that'd be actually really funny if he was the same guy from that stadium scene.
Yeah.
And he was.
And he totally was.
Like, all right, you know what? That was a good joke. I like that. There are the general idea of the movie and what it's doing. It's certainly an extension on Unbreakable and Split, where it's taking tropes and elements of comic books and comic book movies and applying it into this real world setting, which Unbreakable did, Split did, this one especially, to the point where it's all three characters who spend a majority of the movie in an insane asylum that they're being watched over by Sarah Paulson, who is this doctor who thinks that it's all in their head and is trying to convince them of that. Like, this is just a frontal lobe problem. She is trying to apply like real world psychosis to what we've seen in other movies. And that's like I said, like that's I do like a lot of sequences with that. It does reach a point where all four of them are talking, and even I'm kind of sitting there questioning it in the audience.
It's an interesting, again, it's a ballsy, interesting move, because, with the inundation of superhero movies that we have, about every tentpole you got, it's a big superhero movie. So kind of retreating a little bit back, and, since we already are familiar with this universe, and thinking, we've seen Unbreakable, Split, we've seen Split, so, well, wait a second. What if there is a reasonable explanation for everything?
Sure.
And so, and she starts hitting them with these things of, well, in extreme cases, people have been known to do this, and this is the sort of thing, and even they start questioning it. Which, because you couldn't do a $150 million action movie. Kind of taking it as a superhero movie in that direction was kind of an interesting choice.
Yeah, I mean, it adds on to what was certainly set up in Unbreakable. Right. And I like what it... I do like that the movie plays with teasing a really big action sequence in a skyscraper.
Totally, yeah.
And then went into a different direction with that.
It did, yeah.
I like that, because, it was playing with our expectations of seeing a bunch of movies like this.
Exactly.
And, of course, some big action scene's going to happen in a big building.
Right,
exactly. Or, like,
up
in the air or something.
It's going to be a giant explosive with a chemical research facility that's going to be exposed in the world. Yeah.
I enjoyed that about them. I liked seeing the actors play off of each other. You were talking about James McAvoy, and he is the standout of this movie.
Yeah, he really is.
He's watching him is hypnotic in this film. Yeah. Same with Split as well. If you really liked it, if he was your favorite part of this movie, you'll really like Split. So yeah, that was certainly fun to see. The movie has things about it that don't necessarily work. Yeah. Like, a couple more passes on the screenplay, I think, would have done a little bit, some wonders, like, because this is the dumbest fucking hospital that I've fucking seen since Rob Zombie's Halloween.
No, it's like what they show security guards and cameras. Well, and then there's holes in like how the security system works. She says it's based on movement and it's based on this, but then later like they're just moving around and doing stuff and nothing's happening.
Yeah.
She says, there's like this light panel that will stop James McAvoy and it'll force him to change personalities. But at one point, glass rolls in his room at night, and if it was really based on motion, wouldn't it be just going off like crazy?
Oh yeah, right? I didn't even think about that.
But there's like those type of like plot holes that. And then on top of that, like if these are Mr. Glass is a well-celebrated serial killer because of the train accident, and then
other things too,
and plenty of other things. And then you have James the James McAvoy's character,
yeah.
who is also a serial killer.
Yeah.
And regardless of the spoilery, what the reason why she's there later, you'd think they'd have more security than just like the one or two hapless,
I know. I'm sitting there like, all right, your budget's really showing here. Like, I'm like, are there only 3 people who work in this fucking building? Like, plus, I'm sitting there going like, why are you just able to walk up to him like that? What is that syringe doing there?
Yeah, why the hell?
Why are you just walking? Why is she allowed to touch him? Why is he chained but he's not chained? So I'm like, this hospital's fucking stupid. And like, there's this whole fight sequence in the last act of this movie. I'm like, why is this guy able to just stand there? Like, no one's doing anything about this over here. How come she's able to just go up to him? So the budget was really showing on a lot of this shit. And like, okay, like you can, when it gets to, I won't get to what the reveal is. When it gets to that, you could stretch to kind of make up for some stuff that we had seen. Yeah. Not every fucking thing, man.
It goes into the territory that pissed me off about, the last thing I saw with Dave. The
Dog's Way Home?
No, Escape Room. It goes back to the things that pissed me off about Escape Room. Those, I mean, we're not going to talk about the twist.
You know what? I was thinking about that in my head.
Yeah.
And whereas the big difference I could think of between this and Escape Room, which is kind of shit the bed at the end of the film.
Totally, yeah.
Like, I was like, movie, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Whereas this one, there's a lot of things that happen in this movie where I can see why someone wouldn't like it.
Yeah.
But I was still with it. Because I was like, you know what? You're in an insane asylum. I might as well see what other crazy shit you're going to throw at me in this film.
Well, I mean, the things that are so good about it is, James McAvoy is amazing. Samuel L. Jackson.
And the direction.
The direction.
The cinematography.
Really cool. Cinematography's cool. James McAvoy. Samuel L. Jackson is just electrifying. I mean, the guy is so goddamn good. Even for like part of the movie, he's just twitching,
Oh, yeah.
He's still amazing. Yeah. He still is just absolutely incredible.
No, it's certainly an ensemble film. I wouldn't say that there's a single one of the 3 that's necessarily the main character. No. And to a point, it's like, all right. I mean, I see the logic behind that, certainly, to give these people their screen time. Other parts in the movie, I was like, okay, like maybe a little more focus should have been on one of these, because there are parts where like Bruce Willis will drop out of this movie for a long time. Yeah. Samuel Jackson comes in maybe 40 minutes into the movie or something like that. And I get that. Like I do. But like there were sequences where I'm like, I don't even know why this scene is here.
Right. Yeah,
like with that stupid orderly at the light, like in the syringe and everything. Like that really. There are things that could have been tightened here. There are scenes that could have been cut because the movie's a little over 2 hours long. And while I thought, I was very entertained throughout this movie. But if you were to ask, like, if I'm presented with these 3 movies, Unbreakable, Split, and this, I don't know how often I'd go back to this movie. I enjoyed watching it. I did. I had a good time watching the film. I was never bored by it.
Sure.
The other 2 are way better than this. And even the things that Unbreakable was doing with comparing everything that was happening in the movie to a comic book and comic book cliches, it was more subtle about it than this film, because this movie does go into Lady in the Water territory.
It does, yes.
Where
yes.
it's like characters sort of towards the last act of this movie where characters sort of cease to become characters and they're sort of just explaining what their cliche is. They're explaining.
They're deliberately calling it out.
They're deliberately saying,
it's the so-and-so. It's the so-and-so.
This is what we call a climax.
Yeah, it's like, oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, movie.
I was going like, well, okay, I've seen what he does when he's on an extreme with this kind of storytelling. This movie's a lot better than Lady in the Water.
Sure, yeah.
At least when Shyamalan shows up in this movie, there's not someone coming up to him going, you're going to write something that's going to change the world. Like that happened in Lady in the Water. So the movie does start doing a lot of that.
It does.
It was very obvious.
Yeah, because it was meant to be the conclusion of the trilogy and the completion of this particular kind of story.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily. I mean, it's not in any way sequel baiting or anything like that, but it is at least saying that this universe could continue to exist if it wanted to.
Sure, yeah. I'd be down for that.
Which is
would.
fine. Which is fine. But yeah, it is. You're right. I mean, having not seen Split, I mean, I did like Unbreakable way more than this movie.
So did I.
You know, so having not seen Split, my only comparison is to Unbreakable. But of course, I really liked Unbreakable more. So yeah, you're right. I don't know how often I would come back to this movie if given the option. I mean, there's parts that I definitely enjoyed, and it's also funny that here we are in a world where kind of Bruce Willis was kind of the most bland character of the three. Right. You know?
And I think more screen time could have helped that.
I think so too.
He deserved a lot more screen time.
I agree. But he's almost like he's not nearly as bankable as either James McAvoy or Samuel L. Jackson. I mean, you really think about it. I mean, because think of the quality of some of the movies he's been in lately.
Oh,
you know, I mean, you know, we've called
Reprisal.
it Reprisal. Yeah, I mean, he's kind of his particular brand. I mean, it's still there. I mean, he's still a movie star and he's still good. You know,
yeah.
But I mean, there's nothing wrong with his performance. But like, Samuel L. Jackson is Nick friggin' Fury.
Sure.
You know, in all the Marvel movies, he's still a megastar. And James McAvoy's become such a huge star as well.
I think Bruce Willis is like could still carry a movie if the movie, because Reprisal's not good, and that's a terrible movie regardless. Like it's one of those spliced in Bruce Willis movies where there's nothing theatrical about that film. Bruce Willis, I think, is still the kind of actor who could carry a movie's box office if it was a really good product.
I think so too. But I almost wonder if I mean I'm not saying he's gotten like worse. He's not like Steven Seagaling where you know he's just tanking.
Right.
You know, no, I think he's still excellent. But I just wonder, you know, I mean the top build was James McAvoy.
He does have the most screen
followed
time.
by Sam Jackson, and then it was the girl from Split. Like if you look at the billing when they were showing the names
in the opening credits, Bruce Willis was second.
Was he second?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And Samuel Jackson was like Samuel Jackson.
Oh, okay. So I misread that.
Well, James McAvoy does have the most screen time between the three.
Right. Yeah.
He absolutely does, and yeah, I think that. Because Bruce Willis, I think, is very good in this film, and I wish he had more screen time.
I agree, yeah.
Especially considering what happens in the last act of the film. I liked bringing his son back, and I liked seeing them working together and doing all this. I almost could have used another movie in between that was with the Bruce Willis character.
That would have been kind of cool. Yeah, just like a solo movie of him full on, you know, hero, vigilante hero. Because that's kind of how the movie opens up, and that's pretty awesome. Actually.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
It's kind of a cool thing. Yeah.
Shyamalan is at his best when it is when the ambition of the movie is less grand.
Yeah.
The Visit is it's a small little film. It is. It's a very simple idea, and it's done very, very well. Same with Split and Sixth Sense and Unbreakable to an extent. Sure. The more grand that he kind of gets sometimes, I mean, that's when you get something like, it's Lady in the Water or...
it's you know, focusing light through a prism. You know?
Yeah.
You know, when you focus the light through a prism, you harness it, you project it in a specific direction, which is what he needs. He needs to be brought in and focused.
You can see those flaws in this film, too.
Absolutely,
This movie does try to have more... I don't know if ambition's the right word, but I mean, this movie does try to be a bit more grand in its ideas than Split
ambitious,
or...
you know, sort of.
So you can see that this is more so like kind of a world-building movie, kind of.
Yeah, it is.
And his most flawed movies usually are movies like that, and this movie, but still, you do still see Jason Blum in there a little bit in this movie, because as flawed as the movie is, I was still enjoying it.
I enjoyed it. You're right. I totally enjoyed a lot of this film. There's some cool stuff.
Yeah. So I would. This is a hard movie to say, like, because look, me personally. We saw it on the IMAX screen. I would like this movie to have been as good as Unbreakable and Split, but I didn't walk out of it going depressed. I didn't walk out of it thinking like, oh shit, well, that was a fucking disappointment. Like I didn't walk out of this like, disappointed like I did after like Dark Knight Rises or something like that. Like, so I came out of it going like, you know, I still had a really good time at that movie. So in that regard, it's like I could for me, I'm like, this is like a decent enough matinee screening.
I'd say so, yeah.
But like I said, I can see why someone would like this film.
Yeah. Well, because I mean, it's also the style. I mean, if you don't like movies that are too stylized, I mean, he's got style. That's been him. That's his whole career.
Oh, you can tell
career.
it's a Shyamalan movie.
It's his signature style. And like I said, there's parts of his style I love. I think he does really well. And there's parts that's like, maybe not. So, but so that obviously can be a turnoff. I mean, yes, some of the grandiose sort of like, and now we're gonna, see, we've literally created a comic book. It's like, hey,
I already got this from the first movie. Like, you're over-explaining this to me.
Exactly, yeah. It got a little over-explainy, definitely when you get towards the end. But we both walked out kind of saying like, I enjoyed that more than I thought I was going to. Because
it has multiple twists.
Yeah,
like when you think this movie's over, it keeps going, and I'm like, I gotta see where this movie goes.
It has a couple of twists. Another signature of his, and actually they were, they're pretty good twists.
I mean, none of them. A couple of them. I was like, I kind of thought that would probably happen.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, like, it's the. I mean, we're not giving away the spoilers, but like there was one that I thought was like, okay, cool, I'm glad they did that one.
Sure.
And there's others that, like I said before, it's like, they're doing the same thing that friggin' Escape Room did.
I know, there wasn't a twist in this movie that made me go, holy shit! Like there was nothing really like that. I mean, like I said, a couple of them was like, yeah, I kind of thought that was the case, but I mean, nothing that really took me out of it necessarily. Sure. Like I said, like I just don't hate this movie as much as like a lot of other people do.
It's not worth all the hate. I don't know if it's maybe a matinee. I'd say watch it once it's on streaming or whatever. Fine.
Sure.
This did not require the cinematic experience. Mm-hmm. Enjoyable to watch. Not worth like full, movie theater prices.
Right.
Or I mean, there's not a whole lot out right now, so you've got to go see a movie.
I mean, it's January.
It is January. So I mean, if you really want to see a movie, I'd say it's totally worth seeing. But if you can save the money on it, it's not worth it. It's not like there's not like a must see. You got to see it.
Yeah, there's still a lot of Oscar contenders that are playing in theaters. That's true. You could probably find something a little bit better than this. But no, I mean, hell, honestly, for me, it's still worth about a matinee screening for James McAvoy. He's crazy ass performance in this film.
It's pretty goddamn fun.
It really is. Well,
so we had a couple of paid comments.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to write those down for next time because
okay.
are
we out of time?
No, it's not that. It's just that when it pops up, you can click on it and it'll show you the question. But the option to click, like if I were to tap that right now, it's not gonna do anything.
Gotcha. Okay, so we'll get to those.
Because we're gonna be it. Because I still gotta see replicas.
Yeah.
Replicas, and I'll give my brief thoughts on Dog's Way Home when I see it. It's because like talking dog movie.
Yeah. I can't wait to hear your thoughts on it. Stinker.
Well, now I'm gonna go in biased.
My mistake. I mean, it's not that you didn't know the entire movie based on the trailer.
I did watch you guys' review. I know, right? It's like, I'm sitting there going like, do I want to watch their review now or do I want to wait till after I see them? Like, well, I might as well watch it now. I saw the trailer. It shows the whole fucking movie. They're just going to be confirming to me what I already saw in the fucking trailer. Yeah.
And there's the CGI cougar.
Yeah, exactly. I gotta see that shit.
You gotta see it. You gotta see
this movie, man.
That is the part worthwhile seeing.
Yeah.
So.
All right, that'll be coming up on Tuesday, I believe. Tuesday night. So, all right, everyone. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.